We're taking a look at the WE Quick Change Katana system in this episode of the Gear Guide. Let's face it, one of the biggest pains out there is having to upgrade or downgrade your AEG to play at different fields, indoor, outdoor, and big events. Now there are some quick change systems in the market today, but some require some tech work involved or a huge investment, like in the case of the Systema PTW lineup. Well, WE is looking to change all that with their new and affordable Katana system. Now it's currently only on their M4 platforms, but the Katana system uses the familiar color-coded cylinders that PTW owners are accustomed to, but pairs it with off-the-shelf version 2 standard AEG parts that includes the trigger, gears, motor, and a bunch of other stuff under the hood. By doing all that, it keeps not only the cost down, but also helps affordability on repairs and access to upgrades. Now on the Katana system, to access the internal cylinder, you must first put the fire selector into safe. Now this does a couple different things. When it's not in safe, it actually locks the rear pin into place so the gun doesn't pop open, and it also, when you put it into safe, it decocks the motor and takes the stress off the gears in the cylinder. So once you do that, you can slide the rear pin right out, pop the actual gun open, and you have access to your cylinder. It is really that simple. It's that fast. So when you're ready to go, you take your other color cylinder or whichever one you're looking to pass chrono for the specific field you're at, drop it in, and you are good to go. Now inside the cylinder, you're looking at Systema PTW style air nozzle and a piston system in here. And the springs inside are also Systema PTW compatible, but they're not standard AEG springs. Now the piston also is a smaller diameter piston than a regular AEG version, and the second tooth has actually been removed from the factory to help with angle of engagement. Now all that being unique, you think it'd be a big deal, but it's not, because to replace the cylinder, it's only between $50 and $60 US, so you can do it affordably if you have an issue. Now digging deeper internally, the mech box is mostly Marui version 2 compatible with the exception of the sector gear. Now the sector gear has actually been short stroke. They actually took 3 different teeth off the sector gear to actually help with the piston system they used in here. But don't worry, it's not a big deal because the internals and the gears especially look pretty darn solid for an AEG, so I don't think you're gonna have any challenge having to upgrade or replace these anytime soon. Now the other thing we did notice while we were in there is the gears are devoid of any kind of lubrication. It's not a huge deal, but the first chance you get to actually do a maintenance, I'd go ahead and throw some kind of lubrication on there just to play it safe. Also of note for the tuning crowd out there is that WE uses a standard trigger switch. So if you want to drop in a MOSFET for improved trigger response, the Katana is ready to go. We also like the high magnetism motor they put in here rather than just a standard off-the-shelf one. So you include that plus the really beefy gears, and this thing is really ready for some upgrades, including the gray 430 FPS cylinder. Now externally, our version came with a 7-inch 2-part KAC style rail system, but it was locked in really well. Usually these things are kind of wobbly, but fear not, there's also other links. So if you're not a big 14-inch barrel fan here like this one, you can get them in a 9.5 or 10.5-inch barrel version, as well as different rail options. On the body, the metal on the WE Katana is actually pretty darn nice, super smooth, and the finish is actually a great matte black. But one thing noticeably missing is the trademarks and serial number for that matter. There's nothing on here except for the fire, safe, and auto switches. That's it. So for you guys who are big fans of trademarks, it is a blank slate, so you can probably add something if you're into laser etching. But for us, we actually really like the clean, sleek look. Now our test unit here from Airsplat shipped with the red cylinder and is supposedly 400 FPS, but they also make a harder shooting gray version, which is around 430, and a lower blue, which is around 330. Now on our chrono, the red cylinder is actually shooting around 360 FPS, which if you look around the web is about what most people are getting for the red cylinder. And we were seeing about 13 rounds a second on a 9.6 volt battery. Now when we cranked that up using 11.1 LiPo, this thing really shined and we saw a big jump, bigger than we thought, up to 20 rounds a second. And we really think that's because of the higher magnetism motor they put in here that we were talking about earlier on. For accuracy, this is actually on par with most of your 14.5-inch barrel rifles, but since the Katana ships with a standard AEG barrel and a standard one-piece plastic hop-up, you can replace both of these units if you really want to dial in the accuracy and make this thing a tack driver. But the inner barrel, we noticed, also was 6 millimeters exactly, which is really, really tight for a tight bore. We didn't have any jamming issues at all. We were actually surprised at our readings. We actually had to measure it with our calipers 2 or 3 different times just to make sure, but it really is 6 millimeters. Just make sure though, being that tight of a tight bore, you only use premium airsoft BBs. Don't cut any corners on this gun. So overall, our first impression and our deep dive into this gun is actually a really good one. We liked the WE Katana system. And at a price point of under $400 for pretty much every version of this rifle, you can really get a solid modular AEG that's also friendly for the not so tech inclined and the tuning crowd out there. So bottom line, if you've been looking for a modular airsoft rifle with a quick change system that's affordable, check out the WE Katana system and you can pick this one up at airsplat.com.